I now take this opportunity to invite the Honorable Minister to come and address us. Thank you very much.
The Head of Public Service, Permanent Secretary and Minister of Foreign Affairs, distinguished invited guests, senior government officials, members of the press, fellow Ugandans, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. I join my colleagues in welcoming you to this very important activity, which is part of our planning for hosting of the 19th Summit of the Non-Aligned Movement, as well as the Third South Summit of Heads of States and Government. For the government of Uganda, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and indeed the people of Uganda, hosting these two summits in Kampala should make all of us proud. Never before in the history of Uganda have we organized such big meetings. Never before have we hosted the number of delegates we are expecting. The last major international conferences organized were the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in 2007 and the African Union Summit in 2010, both of which had over 50 member states. For the two summits in January, we expect to receive delegations from about 145 countries, comprising member states of non-aligned movement and a group of 77 plus China, as well as observers. We also expect representatives of regional and international organizations, including inter alia, United Nations, and the Commonwealth. Ladies and gentlemen, within 2 years of Uganda's attaining independence in 1962, we joined other developing countries as members of non-aligned movement and a group of 77 plus China, while we joined NAM during the second summit in Cairo in 1964. We are founding members of the group of 77, which was formed in June 1964, and we have remained active members of both organizations. As I will outline later, the two organizations were established for good reasons, and we are glad that we have remained true to these aspirations. Formed in 1961 as the first summit in Belgrade, former Yugoslavia, the non-aligned movement was formed out of the desire to avoid the polarization of countries of the developing world during the Cold War era between pro-Soviet communist countries of the Warsaw Pact and the pro-American capitalist countries belonging to NATO. It was also intended to further promote the colonization of Asian and African countries which were fighting for their independence. While most of the objectives were realized, especially when the Cold War ended, other issues have emerged over time which still require existence of non-aligned movement and engagement of its members. Since its founding, the work of NAM has been guided by the following 10 Bandang principles, which also broadly speak to Uganda's foreign policy, as well as regional and international organizations such as the United Nations. Respect of fundamental human rights and for the purposes of and principles of the Charter of the United Nations, respect of sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations, recognition of equality of all races, of equality of all nations, large and small, abstention from intervention or interference into the internal of another country, respect of the right of each nation to defend itself singly or collectively in conformity with the Charter of the United Nations, abstention from the use of arrangement of collective defense to serve particular interests of any big powers, and abstention by any country from exerting pressures on other countries, refraining from acts of or threats of aggression or use of force against territorial integrity or political independence of a country, refraining from acts or threats of aggression or use of force against territorial integrity or political independence of any country, settlement of all international disputes by peaceful means, such as negotiation, conciliation, arbitration, or judicial settlement, as well as other peaceful means of parties' own choice, in conformity with the Charter of the United Nations, promotion of mutual interests and cooperation, and respect of justice and international obligations. The group of 77 plus China, which derives its name from the 77 original signatories of the Joint Declaration of 77 countries, was formed at the end of the first session of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in Geneva. The primary goals of the group are to maintain independence and sovereignty of all developing countries, defend their economic interests, establishing a united front for negotiations on issues of common concern to developing countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the 19th Summit of NAM, heads of state and government, will be convened under the theme, Deepening Cooperation for Shared Global Affluence. Uganda's choice of this theme was informed by many factors, including the following realities. The history of human development has been characterized by inequality, threats of nature to humans in different forms, and threats of humans against other human beings. At the time of independence, for many of the NAM members, global affluence and prosperity was concentrated in only a few countries. This unfortunately remains the case today. Sometimes the growth and economic transformation of some countries is perceived as a threat to others due to competition, instead of embracing such progress for the potential greater good. For many of NAM countries, there is an almost deliberate effort by already developed and affluent countries to encourage and or compel them to sell low-value and processed products and minerals instead of high-value refined products. This kind of relationship of economic exploitation of the poor and weak by the rich and powerful is not desirable nor sustainable. The logic of win-win and mutual interest between countries should be supported more through deepened cooperation. The Third South Summit had been scheduled to take place under the theme, Leaving No One Behind, in the spirit of Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, immediately after the summit, Uganda will assume chairmanship of NAM for a 3-year period, 2024-2027. We shall also assume chairmanship of Group of 77 and China for 2024. This will provide a unique opportunity for Uganda to be at the center of global affairs, supporting and promoting interests of developing countries. The vision for Uganda's 3-year chairmanship of NAM will be a stronger and united NAM that contributes to a better world for all. This vision directly speaks the proposed theme, working towards strengthening NAM over the 3-year period, is a call for cooperation and collaboration within NAM membership. A better world for all speaks to the imperative of working towards promotion and prosperity. A better world for NAM member states speaks to a better place and prosperity for Ugandans in line with our national development frameworks. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, we are making the necessary preparations for effective chairmanship of these two organizations. First, we shall adequately support Uganda missions abroad where NAM and G77 and China chapters exist, namely New York, Geneva, Paris, Addis Ababa, and Nairobi. For the NAM chapter in Vienna, we are making arrangements to open an embassy to address NAM matters at this chapter. No doubt, we have a big task ahead as a country, but it's one that makes us proud and generates opportunities and potential. With those many remarks, I thank you for your kind attention. Karibuni.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I would like to invite the head of service and her deputy, the PR, to join the Honorable Minister in launching the 19th NAM and Third South Summits. Also, the permanent secretaries, led by PS Bagire, as well as the Chief of Protocol, to join the Honorable Minister in launching the summits. Yeah, please.
Right here.
It's now my singular honor to officially launch the ongoing preparations for hosting of the 19th Non-Aligned Movement and Third South Summits by Republic of Uganda. That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, this one is that's enough notes. Asante sana. It's been a
Eat your glass as a star to drink with their gratitude. No time for eating but about gratitude. Life is a blessing and it's my duty. Oh yeah. I love to love a life.